So one of my biggest articles recently was about the business of motocross. Where does the money come from? Where does it go? It's strange that a sport like cornhole or bass fishing seems to pay the participants more than motocross. Why is that? Is there no money? Well, I see the big rigs, I see everything going on. I'm going to break down for you. And this all started because Glen Helen doesn't have a national. Glen Helen is the largest, most badass track, in my opinion, on the series. Yes, there's some really cool ones. Millville's badass. Redbud's unique. But Glen Helen also needs to be on the series. That's just the way it is. There's three organizations it takes to make a national run. First, you've got your riders. Everybody goes to see the riders. That's literally the foundation. Then you've got a track where they race on. Then you've got a promotional group that puts it together, keeps track of points, enforces rules, and does those sorts of things. All three functioning bodies need to be healthy. I would think maybe the business split would be, I don't know how it should split between the tracks and the promoters, because they kind of work off that same end. Riders, they're the show, period. Nobody's going to that track unless there's professional racers to watch. Racers, in like every other professional sport, should get about 50%. Unfortunately, they don't. The way I figured out best, they're between 5 and 7% of the profit, if that. That's a generous number right there. On an average weekend, let's say, I'll break down what MX Sports takes. MX Sports charges hosting track, said like Glen Helen, $100,000 up front for the right to host the national. For every dollar off of every pre-sold ticket, they also need to pay that. They pay $1,000 to $2,000 for between 2 and 4 announcers. They pay the pro purse, which is $70,000. So MX Sports requires $100,000 up front, but yet all 80 riders chalk up 70? That doesn't seem fair. And that's just their cash to take home. The event has to pay $10,000 to t-shirts and a $2,000 deposit. They do get a small profit off of it. I believe it's like 10% of the profit goes back to the track, and they do make a little bit of money. Then they have to set up gear services, $7,000, property services, $4,000. I mean, we're talking $200,000 in expenses to MX Sports alone. Now you take a look at the insurance and everything it costs, promotion of the event. Promotion of the series falls on MX Sports. Promotion of your particular event falls on the track. In addition, MX Sports requires track to give them a certain number of free tickets for media, mechanics, families, and stuff like that. But here's the catch. Riders pay their entry fee to MX Sports, not the track. They pay $300 per event. If you figure out, say, 80 riders times 2, 160 to qualify for each class, I believe that's the cap. We're talking $35,000 in entry fees. Yet the pro purse is 70. But this money goes back to MX Sports. The track pays the pro purse. This just goes straight back to MX Sports, in addition to a $350 yearly licensing fee to be an AMA professional racer. I'm also told $65 per mechanic or man friend or pit pass or whatever you want for your people, $65. But they're making the track give them for free to them as part of the deal. The track is allowed. Now you see all the banners all the way around the track, and it looks amazing. It looks professional. It's a top-notch setup. It looks really good on TV. That's MX Sports doing. They do that. They bring in a truck with, like all that stuff to make it look like a national. When they tear it back down, it looks like a regular track again. But when they roll in and, the circus takes over, they get their people out there, they hammer stakes and build the track. Or they build the fluff of the track. The promoter or the track is still responsible for the preparation of the track. If MX Sports gets there and say, like, if there's a tree that's in the wrong place and it's unprofessional, MX Sports can chop down that tree and build the track for it or take it out of their portion of the event. True story. I don't know why a track would sign these contracts. They do. And, I talked to the guy at WW Ranch, and even though he lost money on the event, he said he has a great relationship with MX Sports. Okay, fair enough. And yeah, I don't understand how that's helping the sport grow. Yet Davey Coombs, who owns Racer X Magazine and Racer X Illustrated or whatever it is these days, says he promotes MX Sports, that's his second business, out of the goodness of his heart, and that he makes his money off of Racer X. I've got him recorded and text and multiple times. That's what he's told me, and I have trouble believing that. Like, why? Magazine business is dying. Why the hell are you counting on that as your primary when you've got this thing over here? Where's all that money going? I know it costs a lot to drive a semi to the race, but if you're talking about $200,000 in profit, that's not even, I'm not even counting sponsors. So now if you look at their sponsor banner behind the starting gate, you're talking upwards of 30, 40 sponsors that pay between $50,000 and $100,000 to MX Sports for the right to advertise with the MX Nationals and support the program. So, I mean, that's a nice chunk of change. They're definitely, I'll tell you what, MX Sports is not, for sure, not losing money. They're the one organization I can guarantee is making money. Riders, you got all your bike, everything. You're not making money off of a purse. There's no chance. $70,000 split between 80 riders in 2 motos. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. And that's 40 for the 250, 40 for the 450. It's embarrassing that we can't, and I'm not asking for MX Sports or the tracks or anyone to put up this exorbitant amount of money. What I want is profit sharing. These teams, the whole series is based off of teams. If you've got these factory teams, wherever they go, it becomes the national series. They want this national. If they win the national championship, their bike is considered the best. They sell more. That's the whole idea behind racing. It's marketing. If you've got the fastest, best bike, guess what? We all want it. Eli's going to Yamaha. Dylan just won on it. Guess what? Remember how doggy and everyone hated it a couple years ago? They were sitting on dealers' floors. They're gone. I was going to buy a new one. I can't get one. They're gone. Can't tell me it doesn't still work. It still absolutely works. But so they're completely, people talk about these riders making millions. They're making millions from their sponsors. The series is literally a platform. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. You'll never make money. But I look at it and I compare it to football, baseball, basketball, and people say, well, that's not a fair comparison. Well, how about Formula One? Formula One is a fair comparison. Formula One, the series, which would be like MX Sports for the Formula One series, splits it 50-50. At the end of the year, they take the teams. They don't pay the drivers. They don't pay purse money, anything like that. But what they do is at the end of the year, they take and chop the money right in half. Boom. Half goes to all the teams. Half goes to, the promoter. They do a lot of work. They should make money and cover costs. And yeah, but if you look at it, teams like Ferrari actually has a little sweetheart deal. They get an extra $4 million just because it's Ferrari. It is what it is. It's Ferrari. I get it. They're part of the show. They're kind of a big deal. But maybe we could give Honda a little extra. Who knows? But I'd be okay with that as long as the teams are getting some recuperation. This way we could keep JGR, Michael Lindsay, all these teams that have riders who did really well. They would be up into the pay scale. So that way when one of their outside sponsors goes belly up or doesn't pay, because it just happens in racing. As long as we've been racing, that's happening. I'm not saying it's okay, but it's a hard fact that's just part of it. But you have a steady base to work with. You're not working in the red. You're not waiting to hire the rider to see if you got the sponsor. You can hire the rider and just know we've got to get a sponsor, but we can go on without him if we have to. We won't make any money, but we'll break even at least, and we'll be at least be able to pay the rider. Shout out to Forrest Butler, pay the rider. Then, then they go. JGR would be able to. They'd still be operating if they got some sort of profit sharing from both Feld or MX Sports. And now I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not trying to take money out of their pockets. I believe this will make for a healthier series. It'll make for riders who can stay around longer. And what do we know? You can watch racing all day long, but you're really watching the story. The story of racing is what we want to see. That's it. I can watch golf if I know the story about Tiger Woods. And let's be real, he's swinging a club. If you know the story, I could probably watch cornhole if I know a guy's got like background. It's about selling that. It's not necessarily, if you show a guy hitting a triple, yeah, it's really cool and it's super impressive. But if you've seen it once, oh, okay, that's cool. Next, or you got to up the, danger level or something like that. But football figured it out. Let's protect the quarterbacks. Some people call it soft football. But if we keep Tom Brady and these other stars with stories out there, and that's also why the NFL is letting people celebrate now. They've figured out that, hey, we don't just sell the product on the field. We sell the stories, the guys, and everything. And when it grows, everything grows, the whole pie. Where in motocross, everyone's so concerned with their slice of the pie, they're crippling it, they're crushing it. And right now, and like I said, I haven't looked too much into Supercross. I know Supercross has a hell of a lot more overhead. And what I like about Supercross and why I haven't really talked about how much money they make or don't make is there's a hell of a lot more expenses. They rent the stadiums, they bring in their whole crew, they build, they tear down. They are the promoter and pretty much the sanctioning body. They hire a sanctioning body, which is the AMA. The Outdoor Nationals is MX Sports. They call it AMA Pro Racing, but that's not actually AMA. What that is it's a pseudo from the AMA that NASCAR bought. NASCAR bought that AMA Pro Racing logo. So if you look at the address to AMA Pro Racing, it's in Florida at NASCAR's headquarters. If you look at the AMA that sanctions Supercross, that's the same AMA in Ohio, the club that is kind of recognized as the National Series. But I digress. Anyway, that is the basics of the finances in motocross. I know how I see it. I don't know exactly quite how to fix it yet, but there's so many different ways. Let's either pay the teams a profit sharing. Let's pay the riders a profit sharing through purse money. There's so many different things they could do that they haven't done yet. Everyone's just saying, well, they keep coming. Why would we? And I don't blame them. Like it's economics. If you've got a cash cow, don't fuck with it. But that's why I'm here, to tell you guys, we need to fuck with it. Let's break this thing. Because right now, riders, they come up, they're young, they're hungry. They'll do whatever. Like, they'll ride for free. They're just so willing. They're being exploited for that. They need somebody, and they'll recognize it when they're older. When they're 40, like me, actually I'm over 40, but when they're older, you look back on it and you see it plain as day. When I was 16, I wasn't going to argue. I was going to rock the boat. Let's just figure out a way to race. That's it. And that's what these kids are doing. And they're being exploited. And when they're 40, they'll recognize it and they'll be pissed. By then, it's too late. We got a whole new crop willing to just do it again. It's going to take something like this to get us all together to... And it's not like everyone says, rider union, rider union. I'm speaking with the teams. MCR Honda, Team Honda, Kawasaki, KTM, Husqvarna. You guys control it. You guys don't show up at a race, it's over. You guys can just go to the series and say, hey, we want 40%, we'll guarantee our participation. That's it. And you turn your team, which is a loss right now, a complete loss for promotional, and you turn it into a moneymaker. Or at least you break even and you get a little offset and you can grow the sport. And that way when, there happens to be a bad year when people don't buy bikes as much, guess what? Well, we can cut some marketing, but we don't want to cut the team because the team generates money and takes money. So it just makes decisions a lot easier when it comes down to that. And it protects the sport, grows the sport, and everybody wins because more people will watch. You can charge higher ticket prices as people learn the stories. And you can charge higher streaming fees and commercials and advertising. Davey Coombs, Feld will both make more money. And that's genuinely what I want. I want everybody to make more money. Right now, they think I'm trying to just like squeeze it or do something. And everyone, oh, let's start another series. I don't want that. If you look back at the history of racing, you look at IRL and kart. That open wheel racing was bigger than NASCAR until they split. Once they split, now you've got your splintered your stars, you splintered your fans. It just didn't work. And they've never recovered. They're not even close to as big as NASCAR. Even if NASCAR's struggling right now. They are not even close to as big as NASCAR because they fucked it up. I don't want that. What I want is for these people who are leading our sport I'm talking to you, Davey Coombs. Feld, pay attention too, because you're up next. What I want you guys to do is rethink the business model. Rethink it and take a look at other sports and understand maybe the first couple years you lose a little bit of money, but let's watch it. It will grow. You'll get more advertisers, you'll more participants, you'll get guys who can be career racers in 20th place, and that matters. It does, it absolutely matters. That guy in 20th place has, if he can stay there for 3-4 years, look at the fan base Kyle Chisholm has. He barely makes mains. And listen, that's an incredible feat. But he makes a living racing, barely. Could you imagine if we had a bunch of guys like that weren't starving, that could actually have careers? And so we have names all the way through. So every LCQ, we're not going, who's that guy? We know those guys. We know their stories. We know why they're there and where they're going. So anyway, so that's a quick cliff notes on the economics of motocross and supercross. And if you don't want to read my article, or you didn't read the article, that pretty much gives you the gist of it. So there's a lot of money. Don't let them fool you. There's money coming in. Just think about the numbers that I gave you, the 100,000, 300 per rider, 350 per license, all that sponsor money, 50 to 100,000 for every logo on that little banner behind the starting gate. Yes, I did some deep research. I talked to sponsors. I'm not going to name names because, well, this is my battle, not theirs. So anyway, thanks guys. Let me know what you guys think, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We didn't do a podcast this week. I've been battling with, I won't say it because it kills the algorithm, the COVID. Anyway, I've got the long haul version of it, and it's up and down, and I have good days and I have bad days. I happen to be having a really bad day on Halloween. I was struggling, and I just had low energy. I'm working on it, trying to figure it out. I'll let you guys know how it turns out, and I'm sure I'll be able to get over it. I'm sure lots of other people are suffering from it, but I'll let you guys know how it works out for me, and I'll tell you what, it's a bitch, it's real. So stay safe out there, guys, and we'll catch you later.